Okay, we're now going to look at exercise 11-3 on page 632. You guys, this one is just a variation of the previous exercise, 11-2, except in this version, the machinery was placed in service on October 1st, 2016, rather than on January 1st, 2016, back at the beginning of the year. So in 2016, we're only going to take 3 months of depreciation as opposed to a full year. On straight line, that isn't too bad. Remember, our cost minus residual value divided by the useful life in years is our formula for annual depreciation expense. Well, I'm going to say our cost, $115,000, minus the residual value of $5,000, divided by the useful life in years, which was 10. That gets us $11,000 depreciation expense per year. So for 2016, okay, our depreciation expense would be equal to, well, it would be the $11,000 if it were a full year in 2016. But it's not. It's only 3 months in 2016, so we're going to multiply that full year's depreciation by 3 divided by 12. And we get $2,750 depreciation expense for 2016 because the machinery was only in service for 3 months in 2016. However, in 2017, the machinery is going to be in service all year, so our depreciation expense for the year is $11,000. Okay, for some of the year's digits, I think you're starting to see how this one's going to be different. We're just dealing with a partial year in 2016. All right, first, to get the denominator for our depreciation rate, you have to add up the years in the asset's useful life. So you say year 1 plus year 2 plus year 3 plus year 4 plus year 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus year 10. And you get 55. Okay, well, our depreciation for 2016, remember here we multiply by our depreciable base, so it's going to be equal to our $115,000 minus $5,000. That gets us to our depreciable base. Then we want to multiply by our rate. Well, remember, the rate for year 1 would be 10 over 55, for year 2, 9 over 55, for year 3, 8 over 55, all the way down in year 10 it would be 1 over 55. So our rate that we're going to multiply by here is 10 divided by 55. Okay, but if we did that, you guys, that would be for a full year's depreciation. If we only want a partial year depreciation, then we need to multiply that by our 3 months divided by 12 months, the portion of the year that the asset was in service. So this part of the formula is our depreciable cost times our rate for year 1 would be 10 over 55 times the number of months in year 1 that the asset was actually placed in service. For 2016, our depreciation expense under the sum of the year's digits comes out to $5,000. Now, it's easy to think for 2017 to just say our depreciable base, the $110,000, times 9 over 55. But remember, we still have 9 months to go in year 1. So that makes this one a little trickier. I'm going to start out with some brackets. Okay, we're going to say our cost, $115,000, minus the residual value of $5,000. That's going to give us our depreciable base of $110,000. So remember, though, for 9 months in 2017, we're actually still in year 1. So we're going to multiply by the year 1 rate, 10 over 55. Then by the number of months in year 1 in 2017. I hope that makes sense. There were 3 months in year 1. in 2016. The other 9 would be January through September of 2017. So we're going to multiply here by 9 divided by 12. Okay, so that takes care of 9 months out of the year. Now we're going to add to that the 115, our cost, minus residual value of 5,000, times our rate for year 2 would be 9 over 55, times how many months in year 2 in 2017? Well, 3 months, October, November, and December. Times 3 divided by 12 to get the amount of time covered during the year, the number of months of year 2 that actually occur in 2017. So let's look back through this. You take your depreciable cost minus residual value, times year 1's rate, because we still have 9 months left in year 1 when we start 2017. We're going to add to that our depreciable cost minus residual value, times the year 2 rate, times the number of months from 2017 in year 2. Now let me close out my bracket here, and I think that should do it. Try this. I think instead of that kind of bracket, they want an extra parenthesis. Let's try that. There we go. Instead of the square brackets, they want parentheses twice. Sorry, I'm showing my lack of Excel skills there. So, I hope that made sense. Let's look at the formula here again. We took our cost minus residual value times the year 1 rate times the 9 months still left in year 1. Remember, only the asset was only in service 3 months in 2016. Then we're going to add to that cost minus residual value times the year 2 rate times the period of time in 2017 that was actually for year 2, the months of October, November, and December. And you should get 19,500. Okay, let's now move along to the double declining balance method. Here we want to calculate the straight line rate. Remember, that's equal to 1 divided by the useful life in years, or 1 over 10. Then we want to double the straight line rate, or multiply it by 2. So that equals our 1/10 times 2, or 20%. Then every year until the final year, we're going to multiply cost minus all prior year's depreciation by the rate from B. And then in the final year, which we won't get to, we just subtract all prior year's depreciation and the residual value from cost. So in 2016, we're going to take cost minus all prior year's depreciation. Well, in this case, that's just our cost. We haven't taken any depreciation yet. We're going to multiply by the rate from B, which was 20, and that's going to give us our depreciation expense, or it would give us our depreciation expense for a full year. So what we want to do is actually we want to say our cost minus all prior year's depreciation times our rate of 20% times 3 months divided by 12 months, the period of time that the machinery was actually placed in service in 2016. So that gives us $5,750. That's depreciation, 3 months of depreciation, 3 months of year 1's depreciation taken in 2016. In 2017, well, our cost minus all prior year's depreciation Well, we really don't need that number here as much. Let's come back. Let's just put our formula in out here. Our rate again is the 20%. Watch what happens here. It's similar to the sum of the year's digits. What we want to do, you've got to calculate the 9 months from year 1 and the 3 months from year 2 and add the two together. So we want to say for year 1, 115,000 times our rate of 20% times 9 months divided by 12. So there's year 1's depreciation. Then we want to add in year 2. Well, that's going to be figure out this amount first. Okay, this is depreciation for the first 9 months of 2017. Okay, 17,250. So I'm going to put that number here, 17,250. Okay, that's depreciation for the first 9 or for the last 9 months of year 1. Here's depreciation for the first 3 months of year 1. So total depreciation for year 1 would be these two added together. Okay, I'm going to move the 2017 down. We haven't quite gotten it yet. We're working on it. Okay, so our cost minus prior year's depreciation for these last 3 months is going to be equal to 115,000 minus the depreciation taken in 2016 for year 1 minus depreciation taken first 9 months of 2017, which was still part of year 1. So that leaves us with cost minus the first year's depreciation at 92,000. We have to subtract the 3 months depreciation we took in 2016 and the 9 months that we took in 2017. Now let's get our total amount. Well, for the 3 months, I'm going to multiply by our 20% rate. So this one's going to be equal to 2017's total depreciation will be equal to our 17,250 for the first 9 months. Get my bracket in there. Okay, so there's the first 9 months depreciation. Now let's calculate the last 3 months depreciation. So plus the 92,000 times the 20% times the 3 months at the end of the year divided by 12. Okay, so this gets you the F42, the 17,250, is depreciation expense for the first 9 months of 2017. This part, the B43, which is your 92,000 times your 20% rate times 3 months over 12, gets you depreciation expense for those last 3 months of 2016. So 2017's depreciation expense is going to be $21,850. Depreciation expense in 2017 is $5,750. What we did there is took our cost minus all prior year's depreciation, which is just cost, times our 20% rate, times 3 months over 12. Then to get 2017's, well, we first had to calculate that first 9 months depreciation. which we did here. To do that, we said 115,000 times our rate, 20%, times 9 months over 12. We don't have to subtract anything yet because we're still in year 1, just the last 9 months of year 1. Okay, so that gets us depreciation expense for 2017 through September. So that'll be our first 9 months. Okay, so we're going to take that first. That'll be what we add to the last 3 months. We take 17,250 as the F42 cell. We're going to add to that cost minus all prior years depreciation. Well, that was the 115,000 minus the 5750 from 2016 and minus the 17,250 from the first 9 months of 2017. That gets us to the 92,000, our B43, which we multiply by the rate, 20%, and then we multiply by the 3 months over 12 to get those last 3 months of the year. So our depreciation expense for 2017 is $21,850. For 2016, it was $5,750. Okay. You guys will wrap this one up in the next video. Maybe we could fix it in. Let's keep going. I think we can make it. 150% declining, or 150% declining balance. You guys very similar. The only difference is we multiply our straight line rate times 1.5. Straight line rate is equal to 1 over 10. Now we want to multiply that by 1.5. So we get 15%. You might want to try this one before you see it on the video here. It's worked out the same way, except up above, everywhere we had 20%, here you're just going to have 15. Otherwise, it's the same. So if you want to pause it and try it, you certainly could. 2016, cost minus depreciation already taken. Well, we haven't taken any depreciation yet, so that's our cost, 115,000. Our rate from B was 15%. So our depreciation expense for 2016 would be equal to our cost minus all prior years depreciation times our rate times 3 months out of the 3 months that the machinery was actually placed in service in 2016. And that gets us $4,313. Okay, here I'm going to calculate depreciation expense for the first 9 months of 2017. Well, that would be equal to our 115,000 times our 15% rate times 9 divided by 12 for the 9 months in 2017. Gets us $12,938. Now if I want 2017's depreciation expense, well, what's our cost minus prior year's all prior year's depreciation? Well, we've only taken 1 year's worth of depreciation so far. So that's going to be equal to 115,000 minus the depreciation expense we took for the first 3 months and minus the depreciation expense we took for the next 9 months. Altogether, that's minus depreciation expense for year 1. And that gets us 97,750. Okay, then we're going to multiply that by our rate, 15%. Okay, so now if we want depreciation expense for 2017, we first have to pick up the first 9 months, the 12,938. Into that, we're going to add our depreciation expense for the last 3 months. Well, to calculate it, we take cost minus depreciation expense from year 1 times our rate times the 3 months divided by 12 that the machinery was actually placed in service in for year 2 in 2017. So here's our 9 months, the first 9 months at the year 1 rate, and then here's our last 3 months at the year 2 rate, or at the year 2 depreciable cost. So we get 2017's depreciation expense to be $16,603, and 2016's depreciation expense is $4,312. I mean, format that with no change. So there you go, you guys. 150% declining balance. 2016's depreciation expense is $4,313, and 2017's is $16,603. Now all we have left is units of production. It's actually quite simple. No big change here. We'll calculate our rate. It's equal to cost, $115,000, minus the residual value of $5,000, divided by the useful life in units produced, and that's going to be 220,000 units. Or 50 cents per unit produced. So 2016's depreciation expense, well, in 2016 we produced 10,000 units times our depreciation rate per unit produced is 50 cents. This one's where you're going to see the least amount of change probably of any of the methods. So you take your 10,000 units times the 50-cent rate. That gives you $5,000 depreciation expense in 2016. In 2017, 25,000 units produced times our 50-cent rate. So that equals 25,000, or I could do the formula, times our rate of 50 cents per unit, 12,500 for depreciation expense in 2017. That one didn't require any weird partial year calculations really. We just produced fewer units in 3 months than we did in 12 months. Okay, you guys, after working that one with me, I don't think you'll have any trouble with your next homework problem. That's exercise 11.3 on the Connect Plus site. And if you have any questions, please be in touch. Thanks a lot.